Marco Sturm has called out this Boston Bruins roster after another embarrassing loss, and this time putting an emphasis on one player and position in specific. We're going to be breaking that down, as well as going over, once again, the most recent updates surrounding Pavel Zacha and the reports of a trade with him to the Vancouver Canucks. We have some very new information on that front as well, giving us a good idea as to what the plan for the Bruins and Don Sweeney is with this event. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video, ladies and gentlemen. Before we do jump into it, though, if you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Boston Bruins, and we have a lot of news coming after this kind of blow-up from Marco Sturm, really shouting out and calling out this team about what they have done over the past few games, resulting in, once again, another embarrassing loss, and having a very interesting look at Pavel Zacha. We have a lot of stuff to cover, and this is going to have a very, very big butterfly effect, and you won't want to miss what we have over the next couple of days and weeks. But we need to jump straight into this, and we're first going to touch on the Marco Sturm kind of overlook. And I want to pull up this first. And when we're looking at this right now, the team stats for this season, a 309 goals for, 382 goals against, one of the worst in the NHL, a 16% penalty kill, and power play is 20%. Now, when you're looking at all of this, really, all of this might not mean too much. But when you're looking at Marco Sturm and what he had to say and how everything is really coming to, this makes a whole lot of sense. He says you either buy in or not. That's it right there. That's the difference. If you look at the Senators today, they do it and we're not. That's the game. And he was not happy whatsoever after this game, and rightfully so. I mean, losing not just to the Ottawa Senators, but at that, putting up and letting in 7 goals in this game, getting absolutely walked by the Ottawa Senators, is not what the Bruins at all should be doing. Yes, they're a great team this year. That's something that, that's whatever on this side. But in a game like this, you have to show some fight, and they did not. And I mean, coming into not just one player in specific, but also the way that this team is really tried to withhold goals and hold back anything, and you're looking at how things are playing out and whatnot, this is something that has been a very big issue, and these are Charlie McAvoy's stats. And he's been one player that's been very consistent this year. However, it's not been consistent in a good way whatsoever. And I'll pull this up on the big one here so you can look at these and kind of take it all in, because when you're looking at not just his splits, but throughout the month of October, 6 points, that's okay. You look for him to have points, but right now, he needs to lock in on defense. A -5 over those 11 games, still a -1 in games that they win, and -4 in games that they lose. Now, it's not, plus minus, I don't really consider a major thing at this point right now. Still fairly early in the season, but when you're looking at a guy who's being 25, 20, 20 plus, and significantly 20 plus minutes time on ice every single game, and you're looking at him come out here and be an absolute liability on your defense, there are many things that need to change. And we saw the lines. It worked out for Mason Lohrei. Turns out it was not a Mason Lohrei problem. It was more so of a Charlie McAvoy problem. And his defense has just been incredibly, incredibly tough to watch here so far in this season. And I mean, Marco Sturm has continued on with this. And I feel like this is, once again, not just an emphasis on any player in specific, but you can kind of pick and poke at where this is all coming from and to who. And he says, not serious enough right from the start, and that's really unacceptable. We're probably the worst penalized team in the league, so it finally caught up to us. You can blame the refs, whatever you want, but it's on us if we're going to do that and be in the box the whole time. It's not going to work. It's just not going to win hockey games. And this is where this all comes down to now, and looking at how these kind of stats have kind of come to this season. You look at the penalty kill percentage, 16. That's really bad. A 79.5%. You're letting in 1 goal on every 5 penalty kills, and over the last few games, that number has dipped significantly, ultimately resulting in that getting lower and lower. But over the last few games, we really start to see it, and the frustration has been shown in this Bruins roster, and it's come from these losses, it's come from everything, but they need to just lock in on every front. But the defense has been such a major issue this season to allow the goals against. And you look at this, goals against per game, 382, 29th in the NHL, which of course is not where you want to be, but it's not on Jeremy Swayman and Joonas Korpisalo. They've both given you opportunities to win games. They've come out here, shut the door, made some big high danger saves, and you can't capitalize on that. And you're just letting them hang to dry, which is, of course, not what you want to do to your goalie, especially your goalie that you signed for a massive $66 million contract, as well as Joonas Korpisalo, who's been a guy that for the last few seasons, been a backup here. Well, I suppose the last 2 seasons for the Bruins have been a backup and has really, held it down in times that we needed him to. So putting the blame on the goaltending right now is simply not it. And I mean, when you're looking at the defense, it should be good. Of course, injuries do have an effect, and you want to see your guys back. You want to see Elias Lindholm back. Of course, the injury to Jordan Harris does suck, but regardless of that, you're not going to bring these guys back. It's not going to magically be fixed, but this defense has a serious issue right now, and I want to know what you guys think. And of course, these are not just the lines. These are still, just what Puckpedia has right now, because we saw Mason Lohrei jump down and whatnot, and that worked out well. 3 assists in that game, but still, more needs to happen. I want to know what you guys think about this. What Marco Sturm, do you think it's a valid call-out? Because I certainly do, and I think it was a very timely move, and Marco Sturm, his frustration is shown, and he's not going to take much more of this from anybody if this does continue. So let me know what you think about that. But on another front, when it comes to the trades, the Bruins are still waiting to see if they can fight in this season before making any big moves. And this has all really come down in a result from Pavel Zacha when the Vancouver Canucks have once again inquired about a trade. And from what we have from Elliotte Friedman, more updates coming from yesterday. And you see Elliotte Friedman saying regarding Pavel Zacha, I think that the Bruins are in a really good spot here in that sense. They don't have to do anything if the price is big. Sweeney's happy to keep him. Nothing's going to happen unless you hit this target. So it does seem, and of course the way that this worded could be a bit different, but from what Elliotte Friedman is kind of wording it here, in my opinion, it seems like that he is really putting an emphasis on that there is a point that there is a capable of a trade coming down. And whether or not that note from Sweeney has been revealed, whether or not is a specific thing, whether it is, let's just say a top 3 prospect in your organization and a first-round pick, something along the lines of that. Sweeney could be putting that as a benchmark that you need to reach before a deal may be even considered. And if that's the case, I don't mind it, because as you've known for what from the Bruins in the last few years, and me on the channel here, I'm okay with trades like this. Of course, Pavel Zacha has been great this season for us, and if the Bruins are going to fight, it would be a huge loss. But the fact that you're coming out here potentially getting a deal that you really cannot, deny, that's when I don't mind if you're immediately and 100% going to win that deal. Now, more from Elliotte Friedman has come out on this 32 Thoughts podcast from yesterday. He said they've been trying to go back and forth from the Canucks and Zacha rumors. I don't think Boston feels like they're in any rush. The Bruins are like, no, we don't have to do this, and we're not going to do this unless we get what we want. So once again, putting more kind of fuel on the fire that there is still a point that they have to reach if they want to be even considered for a trade candidate, the Vancouver Canucks do. And like I said, Jonathan Lekkerimäki is one interesting one. A first-round pick is still interesting. I think there's a lot of things that would be playing up. And if the Vancouver Canucks do get desperate enough, which is starting to seem like they are, after these rumors ignited once again since the offseason, I'd be curious to see if they're going to really be willing to throw some heavy pieces out there in this mix and really see what they can go and get out here on the market for at least a second-line center, because it does seem like they have their eyes set on Pavel Zacha. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about this, as well as now that Elliotte Friedman's really put out a benchmark, put out something that it does seem like the Bruins are standing on, which is whatever that price tag that Don Sweeney has. This could be a big opportunity for the Bruins to garner some sort of, assets in return. And when you're looking at the offense, although Pavel Zacha with Casey Middlestat and Victor Arvidsson has been very, very good, if the Bruins are not going to compete, why waste this contract here? There's 2 years left, including this year. There could be an option to have a big deal incoming. So let me know what you think about that. A guy in Casey Middlestat who's been very good since returning from his healthy scratch. If you don't want to split this line up, I think there's a lot of options. And of course, as you saw Elliotte Friedman say there's no rush. I still think that this would happen closer to December if this deal were to go down towards the American Thanksgiving, for you guys, Canada guys, and, that's the difference between them. But I still think that this is something that they're going to sit on and try and get as much as they can from the Canucks. And we're going to have to see what happens there, because this is still a lot of work in progress, a lot of moving parts on this, and I'll keep you updated with everything that's going on. But that's all I got here in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well, and let me know what you think about the stuff here in this video, including Marco Sturm's. I kind of crashed it, I guess we could say, at this team. But that's all I got here in this one. If you did enjoy, like I said, give it a like, hit the sub button. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.